Well, coming up on today's show, a new teaser image of the Polestar 2 gives me an excuse to talk more about that car, which I'm a bit excited about. Hyundai wants your EV to go and charge itself when the battery gets low, and Tesla Model 3 orders now open to the general public in more places around the world. I'll give you more details. Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, in fact, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to EV News Daily, Friday, 4th of January, 2019. I hope your new year is going well. My name is Martyn Lee, and I've been through every EV story I can find today, and here are the ones I think you need to know about. Thank you to myev.com. It's a website in the USA. If you're in North America, by the way, then you are lucky to have this resource. They've built the world's first marketplace all about buying and selling and learning about EVs. What's the one thing that legacy car makers do when they think about putting an EV together? They just take one of their models and stick a motor in it and say, we built an EV. What do most car websites do when it comes to listing EVs for sale? They have all their fossil cars and just bung some EVs on it as well. Look, if you're going to do it right. Like myev.com, started from scratch, only EVs on there, and therefore only the information you need to know, brought to you by EV experts. I know the team that work there, and I even know some of the EV makers that they used to work for, but I won't say anymore. But I can tell you now that they used to sell the cars, and they are EV experts that are making this website. Check it out if you're lucky enough to be able to have that where you live. So, very quickly, by the way, I want to talk about Patreon because it's been an amazing start to the year. A quick mention for 2 new patrons, and I'll come back to it at the end of the show. Welcome to Brad. Now, Brad Crosby is our newest premium partner. Joined up New Year's Day. What a present that was for me on January the 1st as our new premium partner of the show. And I'll tell you more about Brad over the next few days. Very quickly, though, I've been chatting to him online. He told me that he's been looking for places to contribute energy and money over recently, places that can make a difference. And he's been listening to the podcast, feels that we're spreading the word about sustainable transport, electric transportation, and is very happy to support our efforts, my efforts here, and it's something he says he gets excited about. Me too, we're kindred spirits. I get very excited about this optimistic future that I think we have ahead of us. The world is full of doom and gloom news articles, and yes, we have a lot to do, and yes, we can't let people get away with what they're doing to the planet, but I think we are getting there. There's a movement, there's a trend, there's something, it's out of the box now. You can't stop it. We just need to make sure it happens as quick as possible. So thank you very much for helping make this show. Everyone on Patreon as well. That includes you, Cookie UK. Cookie joined up as a producer today from the EV Alliance in the UK. That's the website, by the way, is ev-alliance.co.uk. Go check out the website. Really good. There's even a little box you can, or sort of an option you can click. I'm an owner at the moment, or I'm going to buy an EV, and it's even custom designed for which box you tick. So that's ev-alliance.co.uk if you're looking for some weekend webbing to do. And if you're looking for some weekend watching on TV, check out the new Jaguar documentary, which was released a little while ago. I've only just caught up with it now. It's called Going Electric, and it tells the story of the Jaguar I-Pace from conception through to, well, how they make the car, the battery pack, the motor. They talk to the people behind it. It's a really, really good documentary, by the way. There's obviously bits of it that are meant for the mainstream Amazon Prime viewer who isn't familiar with electric cars. There's bits where, like at the beginning, the voiceover goes, "This is the new Jaguar, except it has a difference. It's electric." Like it's witchcraft. And I'm thinking, yeah, there's been EVs around for a while now. This is nothing new, but it's not meant for people like you and I. But it does go into loads of detail, a lot of techie stuff in there as well, and I think you'll like it. If you've got Amazon Prime, go check it out. And also, as I was coming in to record, by the way, I saw that Tesla Bjorn Nyland on YouTube, I love his channel, he's doing so well, like 120,000 subscribers now, has made a video saying that the Nissan Leaf 40 kilowatt hour car Rapid-Gate has been fixed with a software update. I've not had a chance to watch the video. Funny enough, like 6 people all sent me the link at the same time. I was like, watch this! And I haven't yet, but it sounds optimistic, so I hope I'm not giving it too much of a plug if it's not conclusive, but I hope it is, so go check out his channel. Right, let's talk about the Polestar 2 today then, and I want to start with a fair bit about the Polestar 2, the affordable little sister of the Polestar 1, the sumptuous 600 brake horsepower, $150,000 hybrid car, the Polestar 1, that can do almost 100 miles on electric power alone before you even turn on that beast of a fossil engine in the front of it. It's a car that's going to be handmade in China for a few people in the world who can even afford it, but it's their headline-grabbing, top-of-the-line, top-of-the-range car. The one you and I are interested in is the Polestar 2 from the Volvo parent company Geely. The Polestar brand, all about performance and luxury as well. Over a year after showing off the Polestar 1 flagship, the Swedish brand finally providing details about the rest of its upcoming lineup. We got some information last summer, and now we get our first look, our first teaser image of the Polestar 2 sedan. It's a teaser of the tail end of the car, and it doesn't reveal too much. There are some interesting details, according to Joel Stocksdale, writing for Autoblog. Now, for one thing, it's going to have a sleek fastback shape. The trunk lid very short, the rear window comes almost to the edge of it, and the rear window leans way forward, looks close to being flat in the teaser image. Built on the modular platform from Volvo, its battery pack on the Polestar 2 is going to hold enough electrons to deliver about 300 miles of range. That's kind of the golden number at the moment. And its electric motor will provide 400 horsepower, says Digital Trends. Now, the Android-powered touchscreen infotainment system announced by Volvo will make its debut in the Polestar 2 and later spread to other Polestar and Volvo models. The in-car version of Google Assistant is going to appear in Polestar 2 for the first time. Polestar will fully reveal the Polestar 2 in coming weeks. Production begins this year, which is why I'm excited. Begins 2019 or early 2020, they say. Haven't revealed yet where it's going to be built. They're going to offer their first electric car through the Care by Volvo service. Care by Volvo is a subscription service, and I get it. I get subscription services. For instance, we don't have a DVD collection on show anymore. We just have Netflix and Amazon Prime. We don't have a CD collection on show anymore. They're all in boxes, but we have Spotify, and actually things like Amazon and Apple Music, they all kind of come with other things that we pay for. So I get subscribing to things. Not owning things is a very 2019 world that we live in. Personally, I think the car is slightly different. I think people do like to feel that they own, even if they're leasing their car or financing their car, they like to feel that they own it, but I might be wrong. Maybe someone would love to pay a flat fee, insurance, servicing, hand it back after, I don't know, 6 months, a year, whatever. Maybe you get unlimited swaps in the year, as long as you keep the car for like a month at a time or something, if it's a subscription service. Very interesting to think about new ways of transporting yourself. Maybe you don't need a car for a couple of months of the year. Well, you can subscribe for the other 10 months and let somebody else drive it. All those things worth thinking about if it takes more cars off the road rather than making more cars that just sit idle, because that's not a good use of resources for the planet. Well, Ollie Q from TopGear.com says it'll be followed by the Polestar 3, and that's going to battle the likes of the Audi e-tron, the Jaguar I-Pace, and the Mercedes EQC. Yes, Polestar is going to do the SUV second in line, or maybe third in line if you like. Interesting that the kind of cash cow that many people see of the SUV, the CUV, it hasn't been their priority. They've gone and, if I can say it, done a Tesla. They want to be taken seriously with performance cars first, then they want to make a low-slung classic coupe or a sedan type shape, then they'll follow it up with the SUV. Let me think. Roadster, Model S, Model X. It seemed to work for someone else that I can think of. So I'll put links to those articles in the show notes if you want to check out more from those writers. Let's move on to Audi. Now, I don't know about you, I've mentioned kind of subscription services over Christmas and New Year. My wife Emma and I we don't really watch a lot of TV anymore, if I'm honest with you. And we're just kind of both busy. We both have full-time jobs. And then I have this podcast, which is kind of my half a full-time job, if you like. It's becoming more... Maybe it'll become more full-time later this year. You never know. And it's something that, with adverts on TV, we just never see them anymore. And then if we do record a show on normal TV and then watch it in a time delay the next day, we fast-forward the ads. And if we literally forget to fast-forward the ads, then we'll be looking at our phones when the ads are on. We never watch ads on TV anymore. I just don't think commercials work how they used to when you've got your phone in your hand. Why am I talking about commercials on a EV podcast? Because I think there are one or two times in a year when advertisers spend big because everyone watches the commercials. Things like the Oscars show, right? It's still a big show. But the big one's the Super Bowl. If a company buys a Super Bowl ad, you know, A, they've spent a ton of money, and B, it's because they want to be known for one thing, because it's the thing that everyone's talking about, their Super Bowl ad, because it is still the ad that everybody watches. Let's bring it round to electric cars. Audi is coming back to Super Bowl advertising this year. The luxury auto brand is going to use not a 30-second ad or a 40-second ad, a whole 60-second ad in the second quarter to spotlight, you guessed it, electric cars. Reports the industry publication Ad Age today. No creative detail has been released yet, but Audi is making this huge media spend as it prepares to launch 3 EVs in the next 3 years, starting with the e-tron SUV, which should be out this month. Now we're into January after that slight delay because of the software issue. It's begun taking reservations for the vehicle with the $74,800 price. EVs remain niche at the moment, says Ad Age, but Audi wants 30% of US customers to be going electric by 2025. And what a sign of intent that is. They've bought a minute of Super Bowl advertising devoted to EVs. Holy moly. I'm excited about that. And I'm not even going to watch the Super Bowl, what with being in the UK and the time difference. Lauren Angelo's the VP of Marketing for Audi of America, and says this, and I quote, "We're returning to the biggest advertising stage to let America know that electric has gone Audi." Last fall, Audi introduced its first all-electric e-tron SUV, followed by the e-tron GT concept at the LA Auto Show, signalling an aggressive push into electrification. The big game is a perfect platform to continue the momentum. End quote. Wow, that's so cool. That's so cool. Well, moving on to a slightly cheaper brand, but one which could sell big numbers if they get to the market first in good numbers. That would be Hyundai. In the future, every single vehicle is going to need recharging rather than refueling. But how will that be handled away from our charging points when we're at home? Most people charge at home. In fact, there's a Nissan survey that I quote every so often that says that for people who have charging facilities at home and at their workplace, something like 92-93% of all charging instances for those EV owners happen either at work or at home. But when you're away from your home, how will your EV charge itself? Hyundai have a plan for their vehicles to be intelligent enough to navigate to a charging point and recharge themselves, according to PC Magazine. Now, Hyundai thinks that electric vehicles should know how much charge they need, have the ability, much like Tesla's Summon facility, but kind of on steroids, and be able to move parking spaces. So if you park it in a parking lot or a parking space and then go off and do your shopping, Hyundai want to develop the technology that means that when an EV space becomes free, your car moves itself into the EV space to charge itself up. The charging solution that they're proposing is wireless, induction charging, magnetic induction charging, allowing for a completely autonomous process, so no kind of robots plugging in a charge lead. They want it to be done remotely through induction charging. And the whole system needs to have scale to ensure that a busy car park prioritises which cars have the lowest charge and which ones have the longest commute to get home, if you like. So their batteries can be recharged to what they need to. In the future, this sounds like sci-fi. This will be the norm. This is the kind of AI, the kind of algorithm stuff that all big car makers will have to be working on. I'll put a link in the show notes to that article if you are interested, like I am, in those kind of thoughts. Well, Tesla announced today that the Model 3 Configurator has been opened in Europe. That's left-hand drive countries, and I read an Electrive article as well as Inside EVs, and Electrive was saying left-handed countries, and I got all confused because what they were saying cars that drive on the right-hand side, but they called them right-hand anyway. They called them right-hand drive cars. The headline was Tesla opens up configurations for right-hand drive cars, and I was like, oh, brilliant, that's me. It's not. I'm not a reservation holder, but it's the UK. I'll go and play. But what they meant is cars that drive on the right, which normally, if you're kind of in motoring circles, you would call that a left-hand drive car. Anyway. That was a digression, wasn't it? Reservation holders have had the opportunity to configure the cars and place orders for several weeks now, but now the general public get to do it as well, say InsideEVs.com. Well, at first, only top-of-the-line versions are being offered. You know this already. Long-range, all-wheel drive and performance models. The Tesla priority, as always, is to sell as many of the all-wheel drive Model 3 as possible, any new market they open it up in, which is the most profitable, and it's handy from a production standpoint. You can make more money per car, average selling price per car that you put on a boat. You make more money from. Opening the order books to the general public suggests that the number of orders for all-wheel drive cars, says Inside EVs, wasn't as big in comparison to current production capacity. That's an assumption to make, but they know what they're talking about. So I'll leave that one for you to work out. And as for right-hand drive, in other words, if you're driving on the left-hand side of the road here in the UK, it's still going to be summertime, they say. So, like I say, I'm not a Model 3 reservation holder. It goes around my head a fair bit. If it ever happens, I would, of course, tell you first on the podcast, and I'd make sure that I put that into every podcast, like as the last line of the show or something, because it would be, I would then be affiliated with, you know, I'd have a financial investment in that, and I wouldn't want people thinking that I'm then doing only positive Tesla news or something, or only, you know, ignoring other news because I'm some sort of fanboy or something. But, you know, for now, there's a Renault Zoe sitting a few metres away from me. We don't really talk about those too much on the podcast. So, anyway, moving on to Kia. Kia has updated the Optima sports wagon. Here's a car that we rarely talk about, the plug-in hybrid. It's been updated for 2019 with a range of 33 miles in all-electric mode. The Optima sports wagon plug-in will help people do their urban commute without any emissions. It's got a direct injection petrol engine. We don't care about that. It's got a 50 kilowatt electric motor and an 11.2 kilowatt hour battery pack, which is okay. That's kind of normal for plug-in cars at the moment. It's not really future-proof, but it's okay size. Final story today from Fred Lambert at Electrek, and Tesla is working on its new Autopilot Hardware 3, and it consists of a neural net computer. I understand a lot about this. I'm sure there's people listening to the podcast now. I'm sure there's a few super brains listening as well, and you might need to explain this one to me. The new neural net computer is going to be the world's most advanced computer for autonomous driving. Now, they found the kind of the hackers, if you like, the people who looked into the new Tesla software that's been pushed out to cars. They've kind of decoded it, if you like, and looked into the code. They found all sorts of things as Tesla moves away from NVIDIA chips into their own hardware, which is 10 times as powerful as what's in current Autopilot hardware. But this is interesting how serious they're taking it. They found the guys that did all this work and then put it on Tesla Forum. They found that by visualization of all of the code, it's very similar to GoogleNet, and it's not the first time Tesla's neural net has been very similar to GoogleNet, which the tech giant uses. They use it to recognize and index images. Well, Tesla's director of AI and Autopilot is Andrej Karpathy. He was behind GoogleNet's neural net when he worked at Google. The automaker aims to bring the new Hardware 3 computer to production during the first half of this year and deploy it via new software over the air to those vehicles. And I bring you that story not because I even understand like 10% of some of the insanely clever stuff they're doing, but just to say, how many other car companies in the world are working on stuff like this? And as I say a million times, Tesla are not a car company. At best, if you want to label them, they're an energy company. But really, they're a Silicon Valley software company. They just happen at the end of the day to press metal into certain shapes, and they happen to be cars. But it's really, to call it a car company does Tesla a massive disservice. This is some crazy stuff they're working on. And if you try and think about 5-10 years down the line, when there'll be however many Model 3s out there, and they'll be able to drive themselves, potentially without you in it, it does open up all sorts of things like driverless fleets. I mean, they're not the only ones working on this. We know that the Waymo technology is also great, and Uber are busy, but this is really fascinating stuff. And it's not a car company. It's a company that makes cars that's doing it. It just blows my mind. I get so excited about it. Well, that's the news for today. Thank you very much to everyone who sent me their answer to this week's question of the week. And you've still got a day, by the way, a couple of days to do it, because we'll do it on Sunday. I'll read out your answers. Thanks to myev.com, who set the question of the week. Welcome to 2019. What's your prediction? What are your EV predictions of 2019? Maybe it's something personally that you'll do, or something that you want to see happen with your favourite car company or model or brand. What's your EV prediction? You can, if you want to, email me. My address is hello@evnewsdaily.com, or use the comment sections of YouTube, Facebook, my own blog. And thank you very much to 151 patrons of the show. And if you'd like to add your name to the list, I'd love to read out your name on the podcast if you want to be a supporter. Patreon.com, that's patreon.com/evnewsdaily. No pressure, though. I'll make the show whatever, but the financial support means that we can build it, we can grow it, we can advertise it. Just started doing recently, that's amazing, and also just make the show better in many ways. I can not do other freelance work and still pay the bills. If you want to check out the previous episodes of this show, they're online for free, thanks to our Patreon supporters. 346 of those online for free. If you subscribe, you get them first and free and automatically, and if you want to leave a little review, that'd be amazing. But look, I know you're busy, no worries if you haven't got time to do that. Hang out on the socials today and over the weekend by searching EV News Daily. Facebook, LinkedIn and Twitter is where you'll find me. Have a wonderful day. I'll catch you tomorrow.